Hey guys, this is Hybrid, and I am here with a spoiler. There's spoilers in here. Review of The Man of Steel. I saw it today. I'm recording this on Friday, like early afternoonish. I saw it. Showtime was like 11:30. I did see it in 3D. Just so you know, you do not have to see it in 3D. Nothing special about it whatsoever. Only reason I saw it in 3D is because I wanted to see it as early as possible, and that was the earliest I could go to see it. Now, I do also want to apologize. I've been very inactive on my channel. If you didn't know, around this time, it's like graduation time, it's finals time, it's really busy. So I do apologize for my inactivity, but all that stuff is over now, so get ready for the kind of re-emergence of hybrid, so to speak. So I have my pros and my cons, and also bonus stuff. So that's how I'm going to split the video up. My pros, my cons, and my bonus stuff. Now, I made a spoiler video a while back, and I just want to retcon really quick that Jenny Olsen does not die. It seemed like she would die at parts, and the spoiler thing I got said she would die, but she did not die. So I do retract that on the video. I'm going to edit it a little bit, like on the description, and like I'll put a caption that says, this is wrong. But everything else was right about on that video, if I remember correctly. And I did like that. Now, I guess I'll get my pros. So, my first pro is I love how they embrace the alien backstory. One problem I have with every Superman comic, TV show, and other movies is that for the alien backstory stuff, it's like taboo for some reason. It's like no one wants to admit Superman is an alien. They either want it to be like this crazy fantasy thing, like as if he was like a god or something, which, with his powers, that makes sense. They would portray him as such a powerful figure. But he is an alien at the core of it. So I'm happy they went really sci-fi with this. And I really do like the kind of organic, technologically advanced feel. They left the crystals, which I'm happy with. They kind of went for a more nano biotechnology-esque kind of thing going on, which I really did dig because first off, the crystal things, that belongs to the Donner film franchise, and I think that they should leave that with the Donner film franchise. Especially when, like, with how everything else works in this movie, it doesn't seem to really make sense. But yeah, alien backstory. I liked how they embraced that. I liked how we got to see a bit of Krypton. We got backstory on Krypton, like their culture. Obviously, we saw the technology, things like that. So I did appreciate that because I'm a big fan of, Superman is an alien. They need to install that. They need to keep on not try to push that away because that's a key part of the character. It's like ignoring where the character comes from. Like, that's just stupid to me, in my opinion. Like, they always have all these alien villains, and they're like, oh, you're an alien just like us, but you're like, oh, yeah, he is an alien, because you forget, because they don't instill that at all in the character. But in this movie, they did instill the whole alien backstory into the character, and I did appreciate that. And yes, Krypton does get destroyed, thank goodness. I cheered when they showed that, because honestly, I'm really like. There's a rumor it wasn't, but it's one of those things like for Spider-Man, Uncle Ben has to die. For Batman, his parents have to die. And for Superman, Krypton has to get destroyed. That's just there's certain things for the characters' backstories that have to be in there, and that's one of those things. Now, for action scenes, my second pro is action scenes. This movie did have a lot of action in it. As soon as Zack Snyder was cast as director, a lot of people that's one thing they're really looking forward to. And I did really enjoy those action scenes. I didn't feel like any of them were really out of place. I did enjoy them. The only thing I have to say, though, is that goddamn, the property damage was intense. Like, you thought Avengers was intense? This is pretty much like just Superman alone fighting Fiora, Zod, and the other third guy, Namek. All of them, like, they basically made equivalent or maybe even more property damage than what Avengers did, because Smallville got destroyed a bit and Metropolis got destroyed a bit, and then a few other places in the world. But those two main places got really wrecked. So, yeah, I feel bad for them, and probably insurance is going to go way up. So, sorry, people of Metropolis. But yeah, so I did enjoy the action scenes. I thought they were really well done. Sometimes you could really tell, like the CG was kind of heavy in there, but it was very, very minimal, and it was to the point where you had to be looking for it. Sadly, I'm a very observant person, if you couldn't tell by my Easter egg videos I've made, so I caught that, but it didn't detract from the movie at all, so no big deal. Third thing, dialogue and tone. As always, Goyer writes, and this was, by the way, a con I had with the movie that I'll get to later, but the dialogue and tone in this movie, I really did like it. I thought, the tone, it was very serious, and one thing I didn't like it doesn't take away from the movie, but it kind of fell out of place with the comedy scenes they tried putting in there, like at the end, with like the commander, or not the commander, the captain, who was like, oh, I thought he was hot, and like things like that. It felt out of place. Like they tried making jokes, but they just weren't funny. Uh, but I did enjoy the seriousness of this movie. I felt, at times, people might be dying. It wasn't like Iron Man 3, which I didn't like. Well, I liked the movie, but I didn't like how every scene was a comedy, because there was no sense of danger at all in some like scenes. While in this one, you never knew when someone was going to die. Like there was times when I legitimately thought they were going to kill a main character, but they ended up not doing it. Also, just the dialogue and the emotion between like Jor-El and Lara, Jor-El and Zod, like you felt that Zod looked up to Jor-El and he felt betrayed by how Jor-El was acting. At the same time, you felt Jor-El being disappointed in Zod. Then you really did feel for Lara and Jor-El when they sent Kal-El, to the stars, to Earth. Also, you really felt for Jonathan Kent, Pa Kent, when he basically had to tell Clark you had to lay low. And then there's a scene of the tornado when not Superman, Clark could have saved his father from the tornado, but his father told him not to because there was other people around, and if those people saw, Clark, it would change everything. And so you really felt for him. Like I really felt for Clark, and I really felt for like that relationship he had with both of his parents. Like on the one side you have Pa Kent, who's like, no, hide it, because people of Earth, they aren't ready to take in what would be revealed if not only an alien was among us, but a really powerful alien. Then you have Jor-El, who's like, no, you need to be out there. You need to be a symbol of hope. You need to guide the humans so they don't make the same mistakes Kryptonians did that led to the downfall of Krypton. So, you had this two like kind of things you deal with, and I thought they dealt with that really well. I also felt for Zod in this movie because the characters, or not the character, in Krypton, natural birth doesn't happen anymore. Like Kal-El is born naturally, and that makes him special compared to the other Kryptonians. And he has the Genesis Codex thing in him. So yeah, but like for regular Kryptonians like Jor-El, for example, and Zod, they're born in something called the Genesis Chamber, where essentially Zod, he was born to be a soldier, born to be a warrior, born to be a leader type of thing. Jor-El is born to be a scientist. And, there's different guilds, like the artisan people are born to be that. Like, basically, choice is gone. Which is why Jor-El and Laura naturally gave birth to Kal-El, because Jor-El and Lara believed that gave him choice. So that was pretty cool. I did like that. But you felt for Zod because, there's a scene where he's like, I was born to protect Krypton, to lead its people, and now I don't have that anymore. Because all he wants to do is, basically the gene codex thing that has like all the DNA thing that all the people are born from, that gets put into Kal-El. And with that being said, technically that means Superman in his blood has every like possible Kryptonian basically lineage in him, which is pretty cool in theory. But also that means the fate of Krypton is literally in him. So there's that, and then that leads to potential sequels. I'll get to that later. But what I also want to get into is I do like how they actually called him Superman. Thought that was really cool, and I'm happy they did, considering the Dark Knight trilogy, they refrained from calling Batman Batman. Now, another pro I had, no Kryptonite and no Lex Luthor. LexCorp was like shown on a truck and everything in Metropolis, but they did not have him in there, which I was fine with. I think they need to give those two things a break from the Superman universe, film-wise, because they've been abused a lot. Also, I liked the flashback scenes. I thought they did a really good job developing the character and other characters, like Pa Kent, for example, and also really showing us how isolated Clark Kent was, that feeling he had, how he moves around. Like, a lot of people complain that Henry Cavill is very what's the word I'm looking for? Very conservative with his Clark Kent. But I think if you think about it, it makes perfect sense why he would be. I don't think it's any testimony to his acting ability. I think he's a great actor. But I think he was trying to capture a Clark Kent that was truly isolated from this world. Because when you go back to the flashbacks, they showed people always considered him like a freak. He didn't really talk that much because if he was taught by Pa Kent that, he needs to be very to himself, not out there so much because he might do something. And if he does, like I said, he didn't believe the people of Earth were ready yet for someone like Clark. So there's that. Also, I did enjoy kind of the way they did stuff like the whole Jor-El hologram thing. I thought that was really cool. A really awesome job incorporating Russell Crowe into this movie. I enjoyed it. A lot of people complained about Lois Lane like having not enough scenes in this movie, but I have to beg differ. I thought she was in this movie quite a lot, and I thought it was appropriate in it, but I'll get into stuff about her in my cons. Now, they really rushed the Lois Lane Superman love story in this movie. It's quite ridiculous, in my opinion, how much they rushed it. The story in general felt very rushed until they got to the whole Superman Zod thing, like Zod and Faora and Namek coming to Earth. Once that happened, the pacing felt pretty good, but before then, it felt very rushed. Like they were just trying to hurry up, get all that setup stuff done to get to that point. And then after that, it was about an hour and a half of, all that fighting and conflict there. Also, it's not a negative for me. I just thought I'd mention this as I was talking about Lois Lane. General Lane isn't in this movie. I thought that was very odd considering the military presence in this film. But who knows, maybe he'll appear in later films. Now, Faora, Namek, all of them on the Black Zero ship, the way they go away, I felt was kind of Like, it makes sense, They basically use a Phantom Zone, basically Phantom Zone portal to send them into the Phantom Zone again on the Black Zero ship. I felt that was kind of lame the way they just did that. It just felt kind of like an easy way out kind of deal. But it didn't bother me that much considering in that scenario I'd probably do the same thing. So it did make sense. Now, the way Zod dies. Superman snaps his neck. A lot of people are complaining about this. I'm not complaining about this because honestly, why can't Superman kill? Why can't a hero kill? Does that not make him a hero still? Because last time I checked, their job is to protect people. And, people like the Joker, people like, for Superior Spider-Man, Massacre. I know a lot of heroes have that moral code to not kill, but for some of these chances, just like a cop, for example, sometimes you have to do that. Like Zod, if Superman didn't snap his neck right there, like Superman was restraining him and telling Zod to give up, but Zod was using his heat vision to try killing people. Just random people, just to do it. So, in those scenarios, for the greater good type of deal, or not just for the greater good, but to protect people in general. Sometimes you have to put the monster down. Just like like a dog has rabies, you got to put it down. It's not that you're doing a bad thing, it's just something you have to do. So I know a lot of people are complaining about, Superman, he killed, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, he didn't want to. Like he was struggling with the decision, and then after he looked really upset about it. Like, that he had to do that because he honestly didn't want to have to do that. He was hoping, like, he would beat Zod, like, in their fight, maybe, like, submission or something, not, one person has to die kind of deal. Also, a con I had with this movie was they gave Nolan credit as the writer. He was not at all writing this movie. Last time I checked in interviews, the screenplay was made by Goyer. They said story by Christopher Nolan and David Goyer. No, the story was all Goyer's idea. All Christopher Nolan did was call Warner Brothers and tell them, hey, Goyer has a pretty good story. I think you guys should listen to it. That's all Nolan did. Nolan even said he was not even on set. Like, he has to give him the producer credits, which I could live with. I'm not going to complain about that. But I'm going to get upset that they give him credit for the story and everything because that's not fair to Goyer. That's not fair to the people that actually participate in this film, that they're getting second-handed. Like, they put Nolan's name first and then Goyer's name in there. And that's not fair to Goyer, and that's not fair to people that actually worked on this movie, worked hard on this movie, put a lot of effort into this movie, just because Nolan has name value for the Batman films. But let me tell you guys, there's no way in hell that the Dark Knight trilogy can fit into Man of Steel. There's no way Green Lantern can fit into Man of Steel. They are gonna have to reboot every character they want in that Justice League movie if they want it to be the same universe as the Man of Steel's universe. And I hope to God Nolan does not get his name in every film, because I don't hate the Nolan fanboys. Like, yes, they can be annoying at times, just like Marvel fanboys can be annoying at times, just like Xbox and Sony fanboys can be annoying at times. All of them can be annoying, but it gets to a point where you have to give credit to where it's due, and I just felt like that was really rude, basically, of Warner Brothers to give Nolan credit above people like Goyer, who actually wrote the story for this movie. And my last kind of like issue with this movie is there is no way Clark Kent can ever have an identity. He said various times to other people, I live in Kansas. He even said it to a high colonel in the military, I grew up in Kansas. Then there's alien attacks in Kansas and Smallville. Do they not think they're going to piece that together? Honestly? Like, does Clark not think they're going to realize that? Then people in Smallville saw Clark do tremendous things as he grew up. And Lois Lane even found out where he, who he was, where he was. Her and a taxi driver saw Clark in the Superman suit on the Kent farm talking to Ma Kent. Also, Lois Lane wrote a story about Superman. Well, obviously, not she didn't say he was Clark Kent, but various times while he was Superman, she yelled Clark at him. Now, if people cannot put two and two together that much, they must be, the people in this world must be really stupid. Because they did do the whole Clark Kent works at Daily Planet thing at the end. And, I'm sorry, he looks just like Superman as Clark Kent with the glasses on. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they're going to try making it seem like people are going to believe that's two different people, but whatever. Honestly, if people are that stupid, they're that stupid. So, yeah, I really did enjoy the movie, though. The movie was great, in my opinion. I want to give it a 9, but it doesn't feel like a 9 to me. I want to give it an 8, but I feel like it's better than 8, so I'm giving it an 8.5. Mostly because I'm really happy they finally embraced the whole alien backstory. I did enjoy the action scenes. The dialogue was great. And honestly, it's a Superman movie I think a lot of fans always wanted, because it has everything you'd want in a Superman movie, really, but at the same time, it gives it to you in a very fresh way that is nice. It's nice to have a new, fresh take on a character like Superman that embraces who the character is, but at the same time gives us something we've never gotten before. So this is Hybrid. Please subscribe, comment, and like, and I'll see you guys later.